Welcome to Amazing Mind, the HMI Web TV talk show that introduces you to all sorts of interesting people and topics related to subconscious behavior. My name is Lisa Machenberg, hypnotherapist, HMI instructor, and host. Today we have an amazing guest who's going to talk to us about what we need to know when we are working with the aging population. My very special guest is Mindie Jo Snyder. Now, she is a master's in expressive art therapies. That's more than just art therapy. That incorporates art therapy, music therapy, and theater arts therapy. And she was on staff at University Physician Hospital in Tucson, Arizona. And please help me welcome my guest, Mindie Jo Snyder. Well, Mindie, I'm so glad that you came today because, well, this is an increasing population in the United States and all over the world, the aging population. Can you tell us a little bit about what issues we're going to encounter that are unique to this population?
Thank you for having me, Lisa. This is very exciting to talk about something that's very near and dear to my heart. And all of us are aging all the time, and we live in a very youth-obsessed culture, and the two of them kind of don't go together. So we have people, they call them the boomers, that are approaching end of years. And so there are special things that we need to take into account economically, physically, emotionally, psychologically, spiritually, as we move into those later years to make, to look at things that are related to more quality of life.
Yes.
And we need to really be concerned as practitioners with quality of care.
Yes. So what are those issues that we're going to run into?
So some of them are related to issues of loss and change, adaptability. Some of them are related to vulnerability and what we would call undue influence, those kinds of problems.
Well, I want to take those one at a time. And certainly when I think about working with the aging population, I think about loss. Loss of health, loss of maybe the 3,000 square foot home, loss of status. I used to be Dr. Smith, and now I'm just another guy. Can you talk to us about loss?
So we could spend a whole day just talking about loss.
How much time do we have?
For Jerry, really. Part of when we approach issues of loss, one of the things that we need to understand is that the body changes. And one of those things that can be construed as a loss is what's happening to the physical body. Mobility isn't what it used to be. Sometimes people are confined to wheelchairs for the first time in their lives. Sometimes people are confined to a bed. Yes. So you have issues of containment and confinement related to loss. You have loss of loved ones, loss of friends, for a variety of reasons. You have, as you said, we lose our job identity, and for women as well as men, this is a terribly important piece that we need to look at. We also have loss of our role in the family. So maybe your kids are older and they don't need you the way that they needed you before.
Sure.
So how does that role change?
That is so related to adaptability. It's a term that I'm not that familiar with. Can you share what you mean by adaptability and how it relates to working with people who are aging?
So let's look at the kind of person who used to have a routine. They would get up at 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning, they would have their breakfast, read their paper, go to the office, come home, have their dinner, work out at some point during the day, interact with the family at some point during the day, go to bed, have the same routine again. So you take out those things that have become routine, whether it's what you used to do at a particular time of day, or what you used to do with certain people, or just having a job to go to, or a career that was thriving that has shifted. So suddenly then the person needs to adapt to, what do I do with my time?
Oof, yeah.
And how do I adapt to relating to people in a different way? As you talked about status, Lisa, what do you do when you've been a world famous physician and you're suddenly retired, for whatever that word means, and you have your hobbies, but the world was calling you for years, and all of a sudden, people stop calling.
Yes.
Nobody's interested in your publications, you're not publishing anymore. What does that mean for you in terms of adapting to an anonymity
Yes.
place? So we're looking at adapting psychologically here.
Mm-hmm.
We're looking at adapting environmentally. You may be living in the same home, you may have changed homes, you may have changed, as you said, from a larger place to a smaller place or just a different kind of place.
Yes.
So the person has to adapt to a variety of lifestyle changes and environmental changes, and those adaptations don't necessarily come with an instruction book like you're putting together a table and chair.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. The last one is the scariest one, and one as mental health care professionals we need to be vigilant about, and that's the one of undue influence. Can you speak to that?
So when we talk about undue influence, Lisa, what we're looking at is a vulnerable population of those who are aging that might be susceptible to people taking advantage of them economically in particular. Dr. Bennett Blum, who's a geriatric forensic psychiatrist, came up with a tool to assess undue influence in the geriatric population that might be of help to some of our practitioners that are watching. And it's very important to look at who is in the sphere of influence of that person. And it doesn't necessarily mean that the person is physically frail, but they may be psychologically vulnerable because they're lonely.
Yes.
Their family lives in one state, they live in another state, somebody befriends them.
Ah.
So we have lots of concern about taking advantage of people at this stage of life. Oftentimes folks do have resources and are at risk for losing them when they're surrounded by people who unfortunately will take advantage.
And it can be family, not family, salespeople, caretakers.
Right.
And that's what we have to just be aware of.
Exactly.
What kind of things can we do in the mental health professions to help the aging population?
Well, first of all, what I'd always like to stress is that mental health treatment does work.
Uh-huh.
And you find people in various stages of depression or anxiety, perhaps following a stroke or a heart attack or a severe loss of a spouse, etc. And so having expertise in listening to the stories of this particular group.
Do seniors get listened to?
My experience has been, I certainly personally try.
Good for you.
But what I'm hearing back from them is that they don't necessarily see themselves as being seen, heard, valued, and appreciated. They will say that they feel like they've been thrown away, that nobody needs them anymore, that what they have to offer doesn't matter as much as it used to, if at all. And so they're not necessarily being mirrored for the beautiful human being that they are. Also, we can talk about how babies are really cute and adorable, right?
Oh, yeah.
And babies can do all kinds of things and get away with it. They can throw up on you, they can have smelly, poopy diapers, it doesn't matter. But as we age and different things happen to our bodies, it's not cute and adorable anymore.
Sure.
And so there's stigma that can be attached to various issues related to aging. So as mental health professionals, we need to be extremely awake and aware of, sensitive to the kinds of things that are happening, the changes in their bodies, their perceptions of their bodies, what's happening with their memory. Sometimes, as you know, there's been a lot of talk about dementia and Alzheimer's.
Yes.
And you can have early onset of these symptoms in your 40s and 50s.
Yes.
So it's not necessarily disease processes that are relegated to those people that are in their 70s, 80s, 90s, and
Yes.
upwards.
You know, one of the things I want to talk about is I hear from many seniors and I hear from many people in my practice are the sandwich generation, Mindie Jo. They have aging parents and little bitty kids.
Kind of like us.
Like us.
Kind of like us, yeah.
And what I hear both from the aging people in my population and the sandwich people in my population is somehow the us feels like he or she knows better. And the senior feels like my child thinks that he or she knows better than me. It doesn't take my opinion into consideration. And I hear from the us, I know better, I know what she needs, only I can keep her safe. Can you speak to that?
So as mental health practitioners, regardless of what the modality is, really paying attention to the family dynamic is going to be very important. It may be that the person's child does have their best interests in mind and does know better. And there indeed are some people within the aging population who will reflect on that and say, you know, they really do love me and care about me and they have my best interests at heart. They don't want me to drive anymore, for example.
Yes,
that's a huge thing. Then you, as you said, there are people that feel like they're not being listened to or heard. But if you look back into the family history, that may have been an old dynamic and not a new one.
Yes,
so,
very interesting.
So you need to move on a very gentle case-by-case basis in looking into what is the real problem. So we can't, if we try to step ahead and make assumptions about what the matter is and how we can help them come to a place where quality of life is improved, mood is elevated, anxiety is diminished, we really need to be really super good investigators.
Well, I know we've only just scratched the surface of this topic, but I love that the main thing that we do, a best place to start, is with the listening, leaving the assumptions behind, but really start with listening. Mindie Jo, I want to thank you so much for being on our show, Amazing Mind.
Thank you.
And I know everyone's going to want to learn more about working with the aging population. Can you give your website?
It's MindieJoSnyder.com.
That's an easy one.
Which is an easy one.
Well, we're going to take a short break, but please stay tuned, because when we come back, we're going to talk to our second guest. That would be Ted A. Moreno, who is an author and also a graduate of HMI College of Hypnotherapy. Stay tuned. Thank you. It's wonderful. I didn't mention. Hello and welcome to Amazing Mind, the HMI Web TV talk show that is Snyder. Now, she is a master's in expressive art therapies. That's more than just art therapy. That incorporates art therapy, music therapy, and theater arts therapy. And she was on staff at University Physician Hospital in Tucson, Arizona. And please help me welcome my guest.
Thank you for having me, Lisa. This is very exciting to talk about something that's very near and dear to my heart. And all of us are aging all the time. And we live in a very youth-obsessed culture. And the two of them kind of don't go together. So we have people,
Mindie Jo Snyder. Well, Mindie, I'm so glad that you came today because, well, this is an increasing population in the United States and all over the world, the aging population. Can you tell us a little bit about what issues we're going to encounter that are unique to this population? It introduces you to all sorts of interesting people and topics related to subconscious behavior. My name is Lisa Machenberg, hypnotherapist, HMI instructor, and host. Today we have an amazing guest who's going to talk to us about what we need to know when we are working with the aging population. My very special guest is Mindie Jo